Hello, how are you doing? So, as I have mentioned in my previous videos, I live in the Netherlands, which means the winters are very mild, but sometimes it gets a little bit chilly and of course we need to dress accordingly. That is why I wanted to copy my favorite sweater. I bought it about 2.5 years ago and I really like the shape. Oh, well, I would prefer to have the sleeves longer. And over time it got kinda worn and I don't like the color anymore, to be honest. So I decided to copy it. This is my first attempt to copy an existing piece of clothing. But I have seen other people doing it, so I decided I want to try it too. First of all, I need to create a pattern. Or recreate a pattern. I have laid the sweater down and now I'm marking the back side. It was really easy because it's a knitwear, so it's easy to stick the pencil through and just make dots on your pattern paper. I had to make sure that I always have the part that I'm marking lying down flat, that it's not bunching up anywhere. And then I connected the dots and here it is. This is the back piece. I have done the same with the other parts. So it's a back piece, front piece, there are two of them, and then a sleeve. I was quite surprised how easy was it to get the shapes from the sweater. I have cut the pieces out. Now it's time to fix the shape because the sweater has been worn for 2.5 years, so it's a bit stretched out and there are maybe also some inaccuracies that happened while I was tracing the pattern. So what I have done is I have put the shoulder pieces together on the back and front side to compare the sizes. And then I did the same with the sides. Then I have adjusted the measurements to what I wished them to be and I made the pattern symmetrical. And here are the final pattern pieces. Now onto the fabric. I have chosen this velvety Bordeaux color material. It has fine stripes and it stretches both ways. So I thought it would be good at imitating the properties of the knitwear. The fabric looks fabulous, but when I tried to track the patterns on it, I found out that there's the first problem. I could not use my regular chalk because the fabric was so elastic. So I tried my window liquid chalks that I used to draw on the windows and it did not work either. So I decided to opt for regular metallic silver felted pen because I thought, well, it's gonna be inside anyway, so nobody's gonna see that. So I've traced the patterns and now I needed to mark also the seam allowance. While cutting the fabric, I already knew that this is gonna be a bit of struggle. The fabric was weirdly rolling and it really did not want to cooperate. But here we are. All pieces cut. And now let's pin it together. So, pinning it together. Okay, so this fabric does not want to be pinned together lined up in any way. You pin it together and 2 seconds later it shifted and moved. No matter how many pins and clips and stuff you used. So my thought is, what is this fabric meant for? Do you have any idea? Please let me know in the comments. Because obviously it doesn't want to be sewn together, so what do you do with it? So I have pinned together the shoulders and the sides, and I sewn it together with zigzag stitch. I wanted the seams to stay elastic. I must say that I was really happy that I got the clips, because they helped me a lot with this project. Now I'm sewing together the sleeve to close it up to create a tube. And as you can perhaps see from the light behind the desk, it's getting darker, so I needed to stop and do some other things. So we're gonna continue next day. Oh yeah, if you want to sew with this kind of fabric, be prepared to keep finding the pieces for the next 10,000 years. It's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. So the next day I pinned the sleeves in the holes. And now it's time to sew them in. As I mentioned before, this fabric is terribly stretchy. So what happened to me is that I had problem to line it up, and I ended up with one of the seams of the sleeve bit off-centered and not matching completely with the side seam. But on the other hand, who's gonna see that? I don't think anybody's gonna stare at and examine my armpit. Well, I hope so. Okay, sleeves are on, so we can create the hems. There's a long one along the front side and the neckline, and then there is one on the bottom of the sweater, and I made also cuffs. I have cut out a stripe of fabric and pinned it on, the right sides together, and now I sew it on. And my plan was to flip it and sew the other side of the stripe to the same seam. So I did that. But again, due to the stretchiness and thickness of the fabric, it really did not work so well, which you will see in few seconds. It was weird. Okay, so I unpicked it and I did it in hand. I just did simple running stitch. I know it's not ideal because it's not very elastic, but I kept it enough space. I did not do it tight, and it worked quite well. For the cuffs, I have used a different stitch because I wanted it to be more durable, because it will need to withstand some pull, because I like to pull my sleeves down. And by now we are almost finished. Now only the ribbons in the back. And because I made mistake before and I've cut one more piece from the fabric that was wrong, so now I don't have enough material to make the ribbons. So I'm using a backup fabric from my stash. Here I'm measuring the width of the pieces, which gave me a clue how wide do I need the ribbon pieces. So this is twice the width plus seam allowance. Oh, and I managed to kill the pot on my cactus pincushion. Oh well. Rest in peace. Or pieces. So as usual, I pinned everything together in order to make a little tube. I've sewn it together, super easy. Then I have marked the angle in which I wanted the ribbon to end and sewn that as well. Then I turned it inside out and it is done. This is my ribbon. Now to fasten it. That was the trickiest task in the whole project. And I must say I was kind of losing it because this fabric really does not want to be worked in small details. Not at all. It rolls a weird way, you pin it, it does not stay as it should. So I've actually redone the first one. There are two. There is one on the right side, one on left side. And the first one I've redone 3 times. This is the attempt that was successful, or kind of successful. It still does not look really as good as I would like it. And the inside is horrible. I'm quite ashamed. But again, similar to the armpit seam problem, I don't think anybody will go and inspect up close that I have messed up stitches somewhere inside of my garment, or at least I hope so. I had to finish it all in hand because it's absolutely impossible to hold it in place long enough for sewing in machine, and also it's quite thick. You can see the amount of the pins I used, quite ridiculous. And I've closed it off really just with some temporary stitches. Maybe I will return to this project later and redo it properly, but by this time I was so done with it. I really didn't want to continue and try to make it neater because it had no point. It was always going wrong. And it's done! Woohoo! This is the original one. And voila! This is the new one. I think it fits really well and I'm quite happy because this was the first time I tried to copy a piece of garment and it worked just fine. Well, there are little details like this one. I need to go back to the neckline and make it a bit neater. And I love the long sleeves. It's just amazing. I'm not sure if you can tell from the video, but I'm quite tall. So it's a common issue that all sleeves are short for me. And because the pattern of the fabric is quite simple, it looks really good when I put some brooch on it. These brooches are made by me. If you would like to get some as well, there is a link to my Etsy shop in the description of the video. You can find also other stuff there, it's not just brooches. Okay, so I hope this was helpful or at least entertaining to watch. I would be really grateful if you press the like button, if you leave a comment or subscribe, and I will see you the next time. Have a great day.